My name is Philip Unitt, Philip, one L, Unitt, two T's.
Phil, when did you join WFO?
I joined Western Field Ornithologists in 1974. So it was volume 5 of Western Birds was the first one I received.
Great. And why did you join Western Field Ornithologists?
Yeah, I started birding at the age of 12, 13, but then my first year of college, I started really to get involved with the birding community and met Guy McCaskey and John Dunn. And so even then they were the leaders of the community. And Western Field Ornithologists was the organization that encapsulated what they did. So it was logical for me to want to be a part of that.
And at what point did you become part of the board?
Well, I've never been a member of the board of directors, but as editor of Western Birds since 1986, and I participate in all the board meetings. So obviously it's important for me to keep the board informed. So I've been involved with the board continuously since becoming editor of Western Birds.
What was your involvement with WFO before taking on the role of editor of Western Birds? And were you already employed at the San Diego Museum of Natural History?
So my involvement with WFO before becoming editor, besides just joining as a member, my first contribution to Western Birds as an article, my first publication, was just 1 year after I joined, when I discovered the first nest of the painted redstart in California, and so published a little note reporting that. So that was my beginning. I was still in college at that time, and so I went through some of my checkered career before joining the museum staff in 1988, actually after I started as editor of Western Birds.
And what is your role at the museum?
So my title now at the San Diego Natural History Museum is curator of the Department of Birds and Mammals, but I started as a part-time assistant. So that's been a long evolution as well.
Maybe I'll pop in a question here about what advice would you have for young birders today?
What advice would I have for young birders today? That's kind of a difficult question, because I always say my career path is not one that anyone should use as a model. But the one bit of advice I do give is develop complementary skills. Don't just be a good birder or be good with statistics or have some other narrow skill, but have different skills that can complement each other. And for me, ornithology and editing came together to enable me to find a career. So that would be my probably best advice, is to complement skills.
So going back to being editor, how has your role changed over the years?
So in my however many years now, 38, 34, 36? Do that subtraction in my head. As editor of Western Birds, of course, the whole publishing industry has changed profoundly. You know, when we started, it was really the dawn of the computer age, and things were done all on paper with typewriters. And then the evolution has come in fits and starts, so that the mechanics of publication now are, of course, completely different than they were in 1986.
What was the editorial structure for Western Birds when you first started, and how has that changed?
Our editorial structure has changed quite a bit over the years. We started off with a broad editorial board and one editor. And that was, as time passed, not really the most effective way, or at least the way that worked best with my skills. So we started with just me as editor, but then the need for associate editors became very clear, and so we've gradually added more of them as time has gone by. And of course now with Dan Gibson in the role as assistant editor, that him looking after kind of the intake of manuscripts, whereas I see the final end of the process. You know, the handling of graphics in the journal, of course, has changed radically over the years. And so Ginger Johnson's role as graphics manager changed greatly. But having Tim Britton as our typographer and layout artist has been huge. Tim and I first met when I was working for HBJ Publishers, and he was working for a company called Type Masters. And we were the grunts in the 1980s who did the work when I worked for HBJ Publishers. And then when I took on Western Birds, it was logical for me to turn to Tim to help with those aspects of the production, with typesetting and design and layout. And many times we talk to each other. Ours has been the greatest professional relationship that certainly either of us has ever known. So I'm very grateful to be working with Tim for all these years as well.
What gives you the most satisfaction of all the changes and projects that you've embarked on as editor?
What has been the most gratifying thing with producing Western Birds? It's a difficult question. Helping people express what they want to say is, to me, very gratifying. And to me, the literary quality of the journal is very important. And it's something that readers, it shouldn't be obvious to them that if writing is bad, then people struggle. But then if writing is good and clear, they don't have to think about it. They can just absorb the content. And facilitating that process is, for me, perhaps the most gratifying. You know, I think of all the amazing things we've published over the years, and I hope articles that have made a very real impact on conservation, but it's helping people express themselves that's, to me personally, the most gratifying.
Thank you. How would you describe your editorial philosophy?
What is my editorial philosophy? It's, I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone else talk about his or her editorial philosophy, but to be philosophical, I would say it's take the middle path. That, you know, as I said, I want to help people express themselves. They need to express themselves in their own voice. So, but finding that voice needs help, very typically. So, to find the middle path between rewriting someone's difficult prose or just letting things slide, to try to find the middle path there that helps the readers to the maximum extent while also making the author feel that his or her voice has been heard.
How do you see the role of Western birds relative to other ornithological journals?
So what is Western Bird's role in the ecosystem of ornithology? For me, Western birds and Western field ornithologists help bridge professional and amateur, that we publish original science, but that is understandable, useful, digestible to those who don't have a technical education, to the educated broader public who is interested in birds. So what we might call the higher end journals are more preoccupied with their ratings in the impact factors, and we aren't part of that ecosystem, for better or worse. We might attract more contributions if we were, yet what we do is not driven by this corporate model that has been imposed on science by the publishing industry. That we still maintain our independence, and what we do as an organization and what we publish in Western Birds is driven by people's interest and passion for birds, not by a corporate agenda or an academic agenda of the publisher-Paris model. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you want to take a break for any water?
Sure.
Yeah.
Want to sip? Oh, they'll bring it to you?
They'll bring it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing good.
Oh, right here, right here.
He's doing good.
Oh, he's excellent.
Yeah.
And I've been
You're a rock
interviewed
star.
before.
Yeah, I know. You can tell.
Yes, please, I'll take one too.
Yeah.
This is the
I
good
didn't
way
want
to
get it
start.
during the
I
lunch.
know, I was
Thank you
trying
so
to
much.
do it quietly, but.
Okay, here we go. Hope my guzzling doesn't get captured by the audio.
All set?
Thanks.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Everybody get the coughing out of the way.
I'm so thirsty. Okay. We are still rolling?
Okay, great. You were instrumental in putting together some special issues of Western Birds, such as the Riparian Bird issue or the Least Bell's Vireo special issue. How did these develop, and do you see more projects of this nature in the future?
We've had several special issues of Western Birds in the past, addressing specific topics or specific species. The biggest ever actually was our California gnatcatcher special issue in 1998, which arose out of a symposium held at UC Riverside in 1995. And so I hope those have been among some of our more influential issues, yet they are difficult to put together because whenever there is a multi-author collection, the rate of publication is determined by the slowest contribution. So fitting special issues like that in a quarterly publication schedule is problematic. So, I hope we do more of that. Perhaps those special issues, kind of like following our avofaunal change symposium as a model. That was a special publication rather than an issue of Western Birds. Nevertheless, I don't want to close the door on them either by any means.
What do you see as principal challenges for Western Birds in the near future?
What are our upcoming challenges with Western Birds? Perhaps the biggest challenge is one imposed on us by the toll booths on the information superhighway. That now, okay, we have the digital object identifier numbers, but the Google Scholar and search engines are adapted to journals run by big profit-making corporations that just by their nature, they can impose requirements that journals published by independent societies like ours might not even be aware of. And so we're in the position of trying to play catch up. And the system imposed by these corporations is opaque. So it's a current challenge and it's going to be an ongoing challenge because I don't see why additional hurdles like this won't arise in the future. But another big challenge is more cultural. So to encourage people, amateur ornithologists, that what they do should be packaged as science in scientific articles. To keep that culture going is a challenge. That now in the era of eBird, do many people think that, oh, I submit observations to eBird, this suffices to make them science? And I mean, that's certainly a contribution, but it's not interpreting the data and making that thoughtful interpretation available. So to maintain a culture that individuals, the people, even if they aren't part of a government agency or a university, can create science, that it can be packaged as a scientific article to make certainly our WFO membership aware, but the birding community at large aware that science is theirs to participate in. One of the beauties of ornithology is it has been a science in which amateurs have had a significant role going back to the very beginning. It's not like physics where you need billion-dollar equipment to make exciting new contributions. But to keep and make new generations aware that science is theirs and it's worthwhile to report observations scientifically and to design scientific studies. We should continue with that. To build that is one of the missions of my career.
So we just have a few more questions. Were there any individuals within the WFO community that were especially supportive early in your career who you'd like to recognize or remember?
Thinking of other WFO members who've been especially supportive, of course, I would have to put Dan Gibson as the number one. And I can't even remember when I first met Dan. He's been on and off the WFO board for a long time, but when he joined as an associate editor and really stepped up in just offering whatever help I needed, whether it was material help and with specific tasks, or just the moral support of being someone to talk issues through with, I would have to say it was him. That working with Ginger Johnson from the very beginning was gratifying, and the change from analog to digital was a big challenge for her, but working through that with her was a very gratifying process, just that it enhanced our teamwork. Just looking back on the past board members and presidents who've supported us, it would be insane for me not to emphasize John Dunn, whose support of Western Birds and publication as one of WFO's principal missions has really been a constant for many years. And just it's hard for me to single out any board member, yet through all these years everyone has kept harmonious with the mission. And it's so easy for organizations to fall apart in strife, and it's just been very gratifying that we've been able to keep this mission of maintaining publication and bridging amateur and professional through all these years. Has been very gratifying. I have to thank our past treasurers, already at this meeting, having seen Robbie Fisher and Suzanne Carota, and of course you, Sean, that have played such a role in keeping the organization strong. There's so many of us birders for whom that isn't a talent, and that the organization has been able to maintain that kind of financial strength through 55 years now, 54 years, is an astonishing accomplishment.
Maybe we'll go on the lighter side a little bit.
Mhm.
Are there any fun or unusual or interesting stories that you want to share about WFO or experiences that you've had birding?
Since that question wasn't on your list,
It
I have
was
to.
not on
I,
the list.
I have to think about that
Well,
a little more carefully.
well, if it's okay. I can go to a couple of just other lighter questions.
Sure.
And you can think about that. Why should an amateur bird enthusiast join WFO?
Because science is essential to birding and ornithology. And we see in society today terrible division. And part of that division is people's alienation from science. So for people to be part of science, even if it's just supporting a scientific organization, but to be around people doing science. You know, science shouldn't be something that happens, you know, with scientists in a white coat in a lab sealed off from the public. That for science to be supported and thrive, people have to feel they're part of it. And I think WFO is the perfect kind of organization to facilitate the human dimension of science.
And I know you've mentored a lot of young professionals, Laura Singh as an example. What advice would you give them?
What advice would I give young people? You know, it's a difficult question for me because in many ways, at the age of 68, I still feel like I'm one of them. So, but it's so inspiring with young people who face many challenges today that my generation didn't face. I mean, I had a lot of challenges as a poor kid trying to be a scientist, but just to maintain the enthusiasm and not let the challenges of real life drag you down from your vision.
So if you have did you think of any other stories you want to share?
Now, I've been to a lot of great WFO meetings. We had one meeting that was in Anchorage, Alaska, and actually turned out to be one of our smaller meetings because getting a lot of our membership to Alaska, was just a challenge. But I saw a lot of great birds, but one species that I really wanted to see was the alder flycatcher. And our meeting was in early June, and the alder flycatcher is a notoriously late migrant. So our meeting turned out to be about 1 day too early for the arrival of the alder flycatcher, so I didn't get to see it on that trip. But we have seen incredible birds on that trip. And like seeing the Mongolian plover up in Humboldt Bay. And I know it's supposed to be called by some other name now, but I still think Mongolian plover is a much more attractive name than anything else that's been tacked onto it since.
Wonderful. You did a wonderful interview, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have another question?
Well, you'd asked, do you recall which question it
Yeah,
was?
I do.
It was was a great question,
Yeah.
you gave a great answer.
It was
It'd be nice to get a slightly more
It was
condensed
about-
version of that.
Okay.
So that
Mhm.
if we have that as a
Yeah, it
backup.
was a really good
Sure.
question, really good answer. And we
Mhm.
just need him to kind of like repeat the question and
Okay.
answer.
Yeah, I know I
Because
didn't
of
always
how-
There was a
repeat.
lot, there was one,
I know,
yeah.
sorry.
That's okay, we can splice that together
Not
and make
Mhm.
that work, but.
It was.
I think the question was,
It was something about you?
yeah,
Not the advice, was it?
it wasn't the advice. I think you had it written down.
He answered it pretty well.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
did, I just wanna make sure that we.
Oh shoot, I wish you would have just interrupted, we could have just gone back to that.
What is unique about you, WFO, is that it? It's okay, I mean, it was.
I think we have enough.
Yeah, it'll
Can
be
I,
okay.
can I just ask one question?
Yeah, yeah.
I always like to end the interview with
Okay, yeah.
everybody having a chance. And you're gonna talk to her, not me, okay?
Okay.
So, the question is, what is the one thing that you want everybody to know about this organization? The number one thing, that, like, as they walk away from this video, what is it that you want them to know?
What is the number one thing I would want people to know about WFO is that we don't do just ornithology, but we humanize ornithology. It's a society in which people are welcome to enjoy birds however they see fit.
Perfect.
That's pretty great.
That was excellent.
That's great.
Okay, great, that's excellent, that's perfect. I love
You
this
did
guy,
an
man.
exceptional interview.
He is
so-
excellent, man.
Well, it was really good to read those questions ahead of time
I
and
thought that would help.
think about the themes that I wanted to hit. So
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're done?
Yeah.
Okay, hold the roll, watch the, let's get his mic.